Hey there, folks, and welcome to another episode of Straight Talk Whiskey. I'm Nick here with you once again, and today we're going to be talking about the process at Jack Daniels Distillery of changing up the Mashbill recipe a little bit and heading into the world of rye whiskey, which has seemingly taken the forefront of at least the American whiskey world for now. So we'll start our journey back with the Jack Daniels unaged rye, and this was basically Jeff Arnett, the master distiller at Jack Daniels, was looking into changing up the mash bill because it hadn't been done in a good 100 or so years. You know, it's sticked with the traditional mash bill and the Jack Daniels black label, of course, that we all know and love, and basically went into looking at changing the mash bill up so that rye became the predominant grain in the mash bill. So if you look back at some of the videos that we did a whole run of Jack Daniels, different expressions and that sort of thing. But what you'll find is both a review on the unaged rye as well as the rested rye, which was sort of looking at the progression of starting with an unaged spirit right off the still, and of course watered down to 40% ABV. We don't have, it would be really interesting to taste what the distillate was right off the stills, but that's not out there, at least not that I can find. So then we moved into the rested rye, which you can tell by the color, if you hadn't known before, just how much the aging in new white charred American oak barrels handmade at the cooperage at Jack Daniels really imparts color into the whiskey. So that was definitely a great thing to look at. And so now we get into the Jack Daniels Single Barrel Rye. Now this is not only the culmination of a journey into this new recipe at Jack Daniels, but it's also another line within the single barrel expressions at Jack Daniels that have been coming to the forefront as of late. You'll notice a couple weeks ago, maybe a little bit longer than that, we did the Jack Daniels Single Barrel Barrel Proof, which was another expression in the single barrel line, and which was really just overwhelmingly beautiful in flavor and texture and all that sort of thing. And you can also catch that review on there. Like I said, all three of those will be up there. So we finally get to the Jack Daniels Single Barrel Rye, and basically what we have is a mash bill that is obviously predominantly rye. So we're talking 70% rye, 18% corn, and 12% malted barley. So, and this also goes into the upper echelons of the warehouse, just the same as the single barrel version does. So basically what is happening there is you're getting more temperature change with the barrel and the warehouse, and that temperature fluctuation causes, obviously the oak and wood expands, contracts, whiskey goes in, whiskey goes out, that sort of thing, imparting more of that flavor. And definitely with the charred oak, you're getting some of that purification of the spirit, but also a really nice smoothness to it, which is coupled as well with the charcoal mellowing that is done at Jack Daniels, which we already know, but that they did with the single barrel rye. So we'll just get our other friends out of the way here so that we can see what we're doing. And hopefully we don't fling those off the table. Let's hope things stay nice and level here. And so, if you've been able to find this, I know it was a little bit difficult for me to find for a while. Some folks that I know were able to get their hands on it, but for me, it had taken a little bit to get this until I walked into my local liquor store, and it was just casually sitting there on the shelf without me knowing. So you'll notice with all the single barrel lines is you get the nice, the barrel number 16-1430 if you're playing along at home, and a bottling date, which is February 25th, 2016. So that's great just to have sort of that information there. doesn't tell you a ton. Certainly, it's good for connoisseurs and people who are interested in that kind of thing. But it's always nice to get a little bit more information about the whiskey that you're drinking, because you're paying your hard-earned money to buy a bottle. So we look at the color, and what we have is a really sort of nice roasted honey note to it. A definitely deep, sort of orangish in note, just a little hint of that, but definitely a deep, rich color that we expect from a nicely aged Tennessee whiskey, of course. So let's go in for the nose. Now, something that is really, really interesting about this, and I've noticed some people commenting it through the forums and Facebook groups and that sort of thing, is that you get a strong sense of banana in there, which is really interesting. You'd think that, you know, I'm going to tell you about the charred oak barrel influence in the rye. It's got to be spicy, it's got to have a kick to it and a zest and that sort of thing. But what is sometimes you have to remember is that once you're getting a whiskey where the rye is really taken over, and certainly at 70% ABV, that is what we're getting, or 70% ABV, 70% rye in the Mashbill. I didn't talk about the proof, but we're at 47% ABV, so we have a nice little high 94 proof there. But anyway, getting back to what I was saying, getting a little bit off track there, 70% of the mash bill is rye, and sort of when that becomes a predominant grain, a lot of times what you get is a real mellowed out, creamy smoothness that is really carried by this fruitiness. And what happens here is banana becomes a real overpowering sense, which is just really interesting. I don't think I've had a whiskey that I get that specific flavor in other than maybe the Yellow Spot, which is an Irish whiskey, if you haven't had that already. But definitely really interesting. Also on the nose, you're going to notice that sort of similar Jack Daniels new charred white American oak barrel influence that you're going to get in there. It's this nice sort of rich oakiness, oak tannins, a little bit of vanilla in there, slight honey caramel is definitely in there, but still the overpowering sense really is this ripe banana, almost toasted banana. If you've ever had an open fire outside and you can take a banana actually and put it in the coals, some people like to put chocolate, different things in there, and you can put it right next to the coals of the fire, and sort of that skin keeps it nice and warm but protected from, you know, igniting on fire. So what I get is sort of that sort of fire roasted banana, if you will. I know that sounds strange, but just trust me on that one. So let's go in for a taste. It's something so unique, yet at the same time, still Jack Daniels to the core. So what you get is sort of this banana note is definitely there, but it's also sort of helped out by this crumbling graham cracker almost. It's almost like an Oreo cookie ice cream pie. I know that's really specific, but it's got this sort of ruddy, dark, chocolatey-ness to it, and it's sort of just like the flavor that crumbles off the end of a bite of an ice cream pie, sort of like that. Really, really interesting. And still what you have is that nice mellowed out banana, again, real punch to it, but it's got this nice creaminess to the mouthfeel, which is really substantial, and the charcoal mellowing really rounds it out and supports it a little bit with the barrel influence on it. But I gotta tell you, It's not really barrel driven at all. And if there was any indication from tasting, the unaged rye to the rested rye, is that it's the grain that's in this that's really sort of the powerhouse behind it. And I think they've got an excellent sort of recipe to this whole Tennessee whiskey in the terms of the 70-18-12 with the rye, corn, and malted barley. I think all those together make something that's really, really unique. But if you haven't had the luck of finding this, hopefully it'll at least be in some bars near you soon or something like that. Just a really, I would say, one thing that differs with the other single barrel Tennessee whiskey that is predominantly corn based is that the aftertaste is sort of fleeting, and it's really interesting. You have this nice powerful punch, sort of a really tight, consistent batch of flavors and that sort of thing, but it really dies out pretty quickly. It's pretty fleeting, and it's not to say that that's bad or anything, but there's just this lightness to this whiskey, which I would like to see this, hopefully a few years down the road or something like that, at barrel strength, barrel proof. So, because what you get here is something that is nice, light, fragrant, if you will. Definitely these fruity bananas and that sort of thing. All those things seem to really dominate a good 3/4 of the entire flavors and aromas that make up the whiskey, while still sort of being rooted, like I said, that traditional Jack Daniels sort of notes and expressions and that sort of thing in terms of the oakiness, the vanillas, the caramels, the honey, and all those sort of things. But altogether, it's a little bit lighter than most Jack Daniels that I've had. Again, it's not a bad thing. It's just sort of what I'm getting from this. Overall, though, really pleasant sort of finale to this whole expression of trying out this new recipe and giving Jack Daniels a really good sort of segue into rye whiskeys that have been becoming more and more predominant in the market today. And you could compare it to other things that you might have had, such as bullet rye. That's another thing that I've had before that there's similarities to, but aren't really the same vein as the Jack Daniels. I would say that is a little bit more spicier, which is why some people may attribute rye to the spicier sort of notes. But and again, I can't recall really what their mash bill ratios are exactly, but knowing that 70% is making up the rye content in this whiskey, it's pretty apparent the effect that the rye has on this. So, for a score, we're going to give it a 91 out of 100. If you've had this before, or have seen it start popping up on your shelves, comment below and let me know what you think of it. I've already heard from a couple people their comments on it so far, but would love to hear more, obviously. So keep me posted, and I'll keep you posted, as always. Next week, we're going to have something very, very interesting that few people, and I actually haven't seen a review of this in English yet, so look out for that. Something very special coming down the line. We got to keep it hush-hush, though. We don't want a lot of people knowing about it, so, we'll keep that for your viewing knowledge only. So, until then, I'm Nick. Have a good week. As always, drink responsibly, and see you next time.